Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar this morning, Harnessing Technology in Property Management for Proven Strategies for Compliance. My name is Shauna Thornton, Director of Risk and Compliance at ARC, and I'm lucky enough to be moderating today's webinar. I'm joined by two key speakers today. Firstly, David Hills, Senior Director at ARC. So David, if you just pop to the next slide and we can see some lovely photographs. Senior Director at ARC. David has been with us for over 25 years with a background in building control, charter building surveyor, fire engineer. For those of you that are familiar with joining our webinars, David is very much a key to kind of understanding legislation and understanding all of the changes within the industry. We're very lucky also to be joined by Vanessa Brandon, Head of Health and Safety at Rendell & Rittner. Vanessa comes with also over 20 years experience in the property sector. For the last 10 years has worked with and headed up the health and safety team at Rendell & Rittner. So thank you very much, Vanessa, for joining us today. Next slide, David. So a little bit about ARC before we begin. So ARC, for those of you that don't know us, have been in the industry for over 30 years as industry leaders. So what we're offering is an end-to-end solution for our clients, looking at compliance management, but also critical thinking and offering critical situational support for our clients as well, helping them understand how to manage risk, safety, compliance, while offering that true partnership. We're also supported by and working with very much the ARL, the Property Institute, and we are attending the regionals over the next coming months as well. And I believe David will be attending the ARL as a guest over the next week as well. So we're hoping to see those for those of you that will be attending those in person. Next slide, David. So, jam-packed agenda for you today. So firstly, we're going to be talking a little bit about introductions to what compliance means. So here we're going to be talking about legal, ethical, financial reasons and understanding what can happen if we do not manage buildings safely. We're then going to be taking you through 4 strategies. The first one is streamlining compliance tasks. So this is looking at the challenges of compliance, from resource limitations to the complexity of legislations. We're then going to be talking about 360-degree visibility. So the importance of visibility, consistency, hidden risks that you might need to consider. We're then going to be taking a look at real-time digital tracking. So talking about the old traditional ways of managing buildings and talking a little bit more about how bringing kind of digital to the forefront. Talking then about data-driven decision-making and how this can maybe reduce time. We understand from kind of working with our clients in the industry that anybody within the property sector can be very time poor. So this is seeing how technology can actually support that for you. We're then going to be looking at some key takeaways, and then we're going to be passing over to Vanessa, and Vanessa's going to be taking it from a property management view. So as she heads up the health and safety team, and with the vast complexity of properties that their property management team manage and deal with on a day-to-day basis, it will help us understand how technology can support that. So really looking forward to that aspect as well. We'll be taking questions as we go throughout. So if you do have any questions for us, please do submit using our Q&A section. We will try to answer them throughout the presentation if we can, but we will leave time for questions and answers at the end for both David and Vanessa to answer. And firstly, we're actually going to start off with a poll. So we're going to take about 30 seconds. So we'd love to hear from you on this. So the poll is, how would you describe your current approach to compliance management? So A, completely manual. We rely on spreadsheets, paper and records. Semi-automatic, fully automated, or in transition. So you're looking to actually move to currently using a system. So if you could submit your answers now, and I think that will help David kick off his presentation to understand, are you already using technology or actually you're in that transitional aspect? I know from the clients that we are dealing with, there's a little bit of a mix associated with that. So if you can submit that for us, and we will quickly take a look at the results. Okay. We have 24 responses at the moment. So semi-automated, David, seems to be the top winner at the moment with 64%. 4% are completely manual, 20% fully automated, and D are in a transition. So over to you to get us started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Shauna. Okay, so we're going to be talking about what compliance actually means for different people within different organizations. And compliance in property management refers to, if you think about it, adhering to various requirements. A lot of people focus solely on the legal ones, but we really ought to be thinking about other elements: financial, governance, and ethical standards. So it involves ensuring effectively that property operations actually align with the legislation and with the other requirements as well. So let's just start off by thinking about the legal side. Obviously, there's a lot of legal legislation that actually is in place. In fact, if you look at it, if we just to take pure property management, there is over 150 to 160 pieces of legislation that are actually in place, whether it's building safety legislation, whether it's health and safety and fire safety legislation, whether it's landlord and tenant legislation. We've also then got housing standards as well that are in place, as well as something that's going to grow over the next couple of years, and that is environmental legislation, especially if the new government do what they say that they're going to do. And we have to remember that we're not just talking about changes that are actually in place now. We've got planned changes coming up. AWAB's law, for example, is going to have an impact on all of us if the government put it in place. So we've got to start then thinking about the legal side. We then have the financial side, and obviously compliance encompasses financial arrangements as well. And so we've got to think about practices such as accurate record keeping, transparent accounting, proper handling of service charges. And then, of course, we've got the day-to-day organizational and corporate basic requirements under the Companies Act. We've got other financial, tax, anti-bribery, all of those types of particular governance pieces of legislation as well. Now, beyond the legal and financial, we've then got the ethical elements as well. And property managers have got to obviously act ethically and professionally in accordance with either self-imposed or institutional expectations and standards, respecting the rights of tenants, handling, for example, very sensitive information. Whilst that is also part of the legal side as well, we've also got an ethical responsibility as well there. And obviously there's fair and impartial decisions to be made regarding fair treatment of all parties involved. And then finally, on one of the areas perhaps gets most often forgotten about when it comes to compliance is the company related, the self-imposed governance and compliance areas, covering things such as internal company policies, employment law, internal accounting, corporate governance requirements and reporting. You may, for example, as well be certified or accredited under an ISO or another certification scheme, which will impose some compliance-based requirements. So compliance will mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, and it really does depend upon where you are sitting, is what does compliance actually mean for you. It's a much bigger thing than just being legally compliant. And in today's environment, when costs are being squeezed, when expectations are growing, technology can be, and I would suggest must be, used to support both operational and governance processes. And by ensuring that you have your compliance position fully understood, fully monitored, managed, maintained, I believe, and what we have found in working with our clients, property managers can then protect their interests, protect the interests of their clients, their owners, the tenants as well. And tenants are becoming more and more important when it comes to how we communicate and how we engage with. So it's very important that we start to think about those particular processes, and we have to take on board the criticism that the publication of the Grenfell Tower inquiry report has targeted towards property management arrangements. And whilst many would turn around and say, but that's only for high risk buildings, it has to have an impact on all of us who are involved within property management. Now, there are always going to be implications if we do not get this right. So the effect and implications of how we manage all of the risks can be extremely wide-ranging, and if we get things wrong, there are going to be different implications. We're going to have changes or implications in respect of our reputational damage. It was very interesting that someone from the Evening Standard suggested that actually it's not the fact that people have certain legal repercussions that's the major issue. Most people will not want to work with someone whose name has been sullied. And so reputational damage is incredibly important. There are obviously going to be legal repercussions. We're going to have increased sanctions, fines, and in some instances, imprisonment. But we're then also going to have other implications as well. We've got things such as property damage. We could have, which could obviously lead to things such as loss of trust, both in respect of our clients, both in respect of the tenants. And we could have disengagement from the occupants as well. But then we're going to have other elements such as economic loss. We're going to have security issues. We could have supply chain issues. Who would want to work for an organization that's got a very bad reputation? Is that just going to sully our particular reputation? And then, of course, there are going to be things and issues such as business continuity. So therefore, property managers not only have got to stay ahead and updated in respect of both regulation and compliance requirements and make sure their staff are adequately trained and we implement the appropriate procedures, but we have to ensure that we are harnessing the right technology, the technology that has to be delivered in the right way. And it's got to ultimately deliver the right results. And at the end of the day, it's all about the outcome. Whenever you hear about, especially on the legal side, a lot of people are not interested in processes, but they are interested in the outcome. But you have to have the right processes. You have to have the right systems. You have to have the right technology to be able to deliver those outcomes. You've got to effectively get the foundations right. Now, I'm going to be showing you a number of slides as I go through today. And I'm going to show you our system, CUDA. It's the only system I can show you. I don't have access to any other systems out there. But just so you're aware, we produce and we actually distribute and support our clients through our CUDA platform. It is it's intuitive. It has customizable dashboards. It's got excellent coverage in respect of governance, risk, compliance, and it's all in one place, a single source of the truth, a central repository, and an alert system as well. It's got a very flexible front end. It's customizable to your requirements. You can mend your own checklist, for example, deliver your own assessments in seconds with absolutely no development time. It does provide 360-degree visibility. We have a mobile app that means allows you to work on the go. And if you are already working with ARC, then it has full integration, and there are other integration options as well. So advert over. Let's get straight into the strategies that we have worked with. Now, compliance overload in property management has, again, really been a pressing issue over the past few years, especially as regulatory frameworks evolve and demand has increased significantly with some very stringent new requirements. Now, it's the way in which organizations deal with this will determine how effective they are at delivering compliance management. Now, over the past few years, we've been working with a number of clients in developing some strategies on how organizations can harness technology to support their client management arrangements. So what I want to do now is to actually take you through 4 strategies that we've developed in association with our clients and focuses on what's important to them. Now, the first one is the ability to streamline complex tasks and manage that compliance overload. And we found that compliance overload comes from 3 main areas. First things first, we've said straight away that there is a huge amount of regulation and it's incredibly complex. As I said, the significant amount of regulation that we've got just in respect of health and safety is mind-boggling for many. So managing property in the UK means compliance with a whole host of different regulations, which often contradict each other, they overlap each other, and effectively they create a labyrinth, a maze that you have got to negotiate in some way, shape or form. And so just keeping up with the evolving standards and interpreting the nuances of those particular standards for each property type that you manage, whether it's residential, commercial, mixed use, etc., is going to be and is a significant burden. Say the sheer volume of compliance tasks adds to the pressure to stay informed and to be up to date, especially for property managers who are managing multiple properties across multiple jurisdictions. And I mention multiple jurisdictions because what happens in Scotland isn't the same as what happens in Wales, isn't the same as what happens in England. But it's not just about keeping up to date. But what I would say is, very interestingly, when we recently completed a poll on social media we ran, almost half, 47% of the respondents confirmed that actually navigating the complex legislative requirements is the biggest challenge that they face in trying to manage and maintain compliance. But as I said, it isn't just about the volume and complexity of the regulations as well. We all know that, as Shauna mentioned there, resource limitations are a major issue within the industry. All property management teams are facing resource constraints, whether they are financial, whether they're human. And it makes managing compliance incredibly difficult. Compliance tasks require resources, and those resources need to be there tracking, maintaining documentation, conducting audits, delivering reports of one way, shape or form to various people. And sometimes that will require specialized staff, and that's going to again potentially lead to a higher risk of missed deadlines or incomplete information, which will cause sometimes errors in reporting, all of which can result in penalties. And then, of course, we've got the technology side as well. So technology integration and data management is really important in today's environment, and robust technology systems such as CUDA will be able to support you from deliver those particular requirements, whether it's document management arrangements and tools to alerts. But integrating that top technology into your existing operations can be incredibly challenging, especially if you have multiple legacy systems in place, or you're using different systems in different departments, because gathering and storing organization in that can actually lead to what we call data silos and inconsistencies. And making compliance tracking in that particular environment can be extremely difficult if you've got various data sources in data silos. And then, of course, we've got cybersecurity, which is just as important. So addressing these challenges requires a strategic approach that combines the process of improvement, technology investment, and sometimes, as I said, third-party expertise to ease that compliance burden. So what does strategy 1 actually really mean? And what do we need to do in order to deliver and streamline our compliance tasks? Well, automated data management and control is one way of actually supporting that process by delivering one story and one view. That's the really important part of how you can streamline your compliance tasks. Effective document management effective systems that actually allow you to provide that document management in one centralized location will support you through that whole process. It will allow you to have effective version control, but ultimately need to have easy access to that information so you can share that information with all of the relevant parties. So it's really important that you can actually therefore look at how you control management of documents and information, and how you ensure that that you can have and set your own rules. By making sure that you've got flexibility within your system, it means that your compliance can effectively be your view, your picture to your world. And you need to be able to see at a glance what needs attention. So the first element of that strategy of streamlining compliance is, we would suggest, looking at how you manage documentation and information and then control that particular process. The second element of this particular part is making sure that your technology solutions actually deliver deadline tracking and notification. It's really important that you keep on top of that particular process. Task automation will ensure that you are able to track deadlines for important compliance related activities such as statutory inspection dates or reporting deadlines, and then send notifications to the relevant team members. And then by automatically reminding those staff, you reduce the risk of deadlines being missed, thus reducing the risk of those implications, such as the risk of fines or legal repercussions, actually manifesting themselves. So streamlining compliance tasks not only is about document management and control, but it's about managing deadlines and tracking and notification of dates, times, etc. Now, the third element of this particular part that we have developed with our clients is all about making sure that you're dealing with risk. Compliance effectively means you have to consider risk. So streamlining compliance tasks by using technology needs to allow you to have automatic alert triggers, and make sure that you have what we call predefined risk thresholds. What and where does non-compliance actually mean? Most people will turn around and say, oh, we've got to be 100% compliant. Well, that you will find is incredibly resource heavy and incredibly difficult to maintain. I would suggest it's almost impossible to maintain. So having predefined risk thresholds that allow you to turn around and say, do you know what, 95%, 96%, that's, as far as we're concerned, is where we're going to be. As long as you've got a handle and you've got proactive management of all of the potential issues. But then that risk and incident management process has got to look as well at incidents. So incidents, whether they are accidents, whether they are non-conformances, they've all got to be documented. And then ongoing actions and remediation has to be followed through with the corrective actions, which will support regulatory, finance, or business related compliance requirements. So the third element of this strategy then is all about managing risk. The fourth element is the fact that we cannot just rely upon having a system. We are going to have to undertake proactive measures to undertake routine inspections and monitor and our maintenance scheduling. So not only, as I say, do we have to respond to risk and compliance requirements, but the most successful of our clients that we work with take a very proactive view. They undertake regular inspections to fend off risk and incident issues. Now, we all have recurring tasks we have to undertake, and by automating those, allows you to streamline that compliance burden. And technology solutions such as CUDA can in fact allow you to schedule recurring inspections, maintenance tasks, and allow you to ensure compliance with whatever requirements you have, whether they are legal, whether they are system-based, whether they are corporate based, and it allows you and should allow you to actually update your task status. So that's a really important element as well. Now, another particular part of this streamlining strategy, it's all about data collection. And that data isn't always going to be your compliance-based tasks and the documentation. It's going to be other pieces of information as well. Automation can streamline data collection across different sources. And that's really what we want to be thinking about. Remove this opportunity for data silos. Have a centralized data collection system across those different sources. The idea to reduce discrepancy and provide, again, a single source of truth. Regulatory bodies, clients, and obviously now residents, if you're dealing with higher risk buildings, require regular reporting. Whether it's reporting on your compliance position, whether it's reporting on property condition, or whether it's reporting on finances, they all are looking now for you to be able to provide that. And so automation will allow you to pull relevant data into, should allow you to provide it in pre-formatted reports, making it easier to meet compliance requirements and reduce manual reporting efforts. And then finally, in respect of this particular strategy, it's all about streamlining your compliance tasks. Harnessing the right technology will allow you to create that audit trail. So you've got evidence-based. The burden of proof, especially in health and safety legislation and building safety and fire safety legislation in the UK, is switched. You're not innocent until proven guilty. You have a duty to prove your own innocence. And by having that audit trail will actually support your compliance processes. So strategy one then will deliver a number of basic benefits. It will improve the accuracy and reduce errors and reduce the likelihood of errors, at least that in respect of data entry, reporting and documentation. We'll be able to ensure that we've got enhanced efficiency and productivity by having the right technology that will help you automate some of the repetitive tasks, such as scheduling arrangements, or actually just running reports. You can have automated reports. You'll also get proactive risk management. And again, it will enable you to track compliance tasks and status and allow property managers to identify potential issues before they become problems. There will be cost savings. Obviously, technology costs money in the long run, but traditionally we have found that clients have seen a cost saving of over 30% by actually taking the manual elements out of their processes and looking at operationalize and utilize and harnessing technology to deliver compliance arrangements. And then, of course, you've got other elements as well by having centralized data and documentation. It means it's easy to access, easy to retrieve, easy to review, and easy to transfer. And then, of course, we've got elements such as improved transparency and readiness. And then, of course, the final element, the big benefit, is being able to scale up and down and having that flexibility as your portfolio grows, as your business grows. So your system should allow you to deal with that particular part. So strategy one is perhaps the hardest one to deal with. And as I said, we found those 6 particular approaches have been very, very successful in delivering a much more streamlined compliance approach. I want to move on now to the other 3 strategies, sorry. And that's the next one is all about achieving 360-degree situational awareness or visibility. And if you can bring that into your compliance landscape, that's going to have a major impact on how you manage compliance, how you identify and reduce not only the hidden risks, but allow you to make much more informed data-based decisions. So full visibility will allow you to provide potential risk management arrangements and actually manage that particular process. As I said, the burden of proof in respect of proving that you are innocent rather than having that innocence accepted is really, really important. And actually allowing you to identify and then action risk will give you that particular view and ensure that you are able then to make far better and much more consistent decision making. It allows you to provide support in respect of your prioritization. It allows you to ensure that you can identify where best it is to spend your money, your resources, to provide your and allocate your particular human resources as well. So we all have to accept that regulations are constantly moving, and we're going to have to make sure that we can keep ahead of that, and ensure that we can deal with the compliance demands and avoid those unnecessary penalties. But it's all about as well that consistency. It's making sure that we have a consistent way of dealing with it, a consistent approach to regulatory compliance, a consistent approach to how we deal with areas such as remediation, and effectively we can then start to reduce the discrepancies that many organizations see when they're using manual systems. And finally, it's all about responding, as I said, to those regulatory changes. It's being able to scale up and scale down, but understand where your particular position is. Knowing where you start from is a really important part of being able to decide what it is you want to report to. And I'm going to go through in strategy 4 where that actually sits. But I mentioned the fact that there are hidden risks. I don't want to spend too much time, but we've got hidden risks such as overlooked regulation. If you're operating in multiple jurisdictions, whether that's England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, or whether you're in Europe and beyond, each organization will have to deal with different regulatory requirements. So a comprehensive 360-degree view will help you uncover location-specific requirements that could be overlooked, especially if certain regions, as I say, have very distinct protections or standards. I mentioned earlier data silos. Without full visibility, compliance data can be stored across, as I said, different departments with different systems, which will create these data silos, which will lead to inconsistency, inaccuracy, and in many instances can lead to overlooked compliance tasks. So full 360-degree visibility centralizes that data, centralizes the view, reduces the silo, and will effectively give you increased accuracy. And unseen and unhidden risks such as incomplete records or inconsistent adherence to relevant laws will or could deliver hidden liabilities. And full visibility allows you to provide a complete history of the actions and activities that you've taken, helping you to spot potential legal vulnerabilities. Other hidden risk areas such as maintenance and safety gaps, and then of course operational blind spots as well. So there are a number of hidden risks. If you cannot grab that 360-degree visibility, there are a number of hidden risks that could affect how you deal with things. So how can technology provide that centralized view? We would suggest the best way is to integrate those various functions, automate data collection, and provide that real-time insight across the different compliance areas. And by having a centralized data hub within what we'd like to call an integrated compliance management system will allow you to ensure that you can consolidate all of your compliance data, such as inspections, schedules, permits, leasing arrangements, maintenance records, all into a single platform. And that hub should offer easy access to all of the documents, to your policies, your procedures, your arrangements, all of the data, all housed in one location, easily accessible. We should be making sure that the system that you have has risk management analytics as well. Those analytics are going to become even more important, because ultimately what the industry is looking for and what the regulators are looking for are to determine the who, the what, and the when. And that's becoming more and more important as we go through this whole process. So the right technology should allow you to record every action that you undertake, provide those detailed audit trails which tracks who did what and when they did it. And that way it will increase efficiency and will obviously hopefully reduce, for example, human error, and specifically provide peace of mind that all of your compliance responsibilities are being proactively managed. So how do we achieve that 360-degree situational awareness? Well, I mentioned earlier that integrated compliance management and reporting. So technology should be able to provide you with a centralized view of all of your compliance obligations by integrating the various functions, automating data collection, and offering real-time insights across your different compliance areas. It's about making sure that you have flexibility within the reporting. I think this is one area which often gets missed. We do not all see data in the same way. We all have a degree of nuance in respect of how we see and look at data. People will often like spreadsheets, others like bar charts, others like pie charts. We all see we all see data differently. Effective reporting has to provide that oversight just as much as getting down into the weeds, and you've got to be able to see that. So real-time data and being able to change the view is really important. And if you're going to allow decision makers to make the right decision, they have to be able to see the information in a way that is right for them. It's about, as I said, making sure that that risk management reporting is available. The system should be able to flag potential compliance issues based on historical data and based on your current compliance activities. It should be able to help property managers identify high-risk properties or obligations that may require extra attention. And in addition, risk management reporting should be able to identify and predict trends and issues. One of our clients using CUDA, for example, was able to see that they had a significant number of false alarms at two of their particular property. In fact, two of their particular properties were producing 56% of all of their false alarms, and they were able to then look at that and see the fact that actually, do you know what, the technology they were using on site, the fire alarm system, really needed some work on it. And so they were able to therefore take that and use that information based upon the reporting and the trends that they had seen. In addition, advanced analytics should be able to allow you to compare. And comparison is really important, because if you're able to compare region to region, area to area, even down to individual managers, you will be able to identify those who are performing exceedingly well and then learn from the successes that they have and then apply that across your whole organization. So those three areas are really, really important in achieving that 360-degree situational awareness, that visibility. So I want to now quickly move on to the third strategy. Now, in the slide deck that you're going to be provided with, there are a couple of additional slides that I've left in, that I've taken out because of brevity here, which takes you through the difference between the traditional approach to the more digital real-time approach. So I've left those in there for you, and so you can read those at your leisure. But obtaining real-time digital tracking has to be, and we have found it to be incredibly important and vital to the success that our clients have had in respect of their compliance position. So ensuring and improving that visibility with systems, we have found, means that you rely upon that consolidated data, that you can rely upon the predictive analysis, because it's dealing with data that is real time. It is not yesterday's news. It is today's news. It is now. And having that real time digital tracking approach means that you can identify patterns and emerging risks and deal with them as they become apparent, rather than relying upon them, oh, that was yesterday, or that was a week ago. So ensuring you have that real-time digital tracking approach is a really important strategy if you're going to make compliance successful. I'm not going to spend too much time on strategy 3. In fact, that's effectively what I want to deal with, but I cannot stress how important it is. If you've got to get real-time data, you cannot rely upon data that is 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old when you come to providing reports. It just isn't going to cut it with either regulator, with client, or with resident. Now, the last strategy, and I just really want to focus on this very quickly before I hand over to Vanessa, is all about data-driven decision making. And again, I've got a lot of slides here, and they're really designed just to take you through how you can look at providing confidence in risk mitigation and compliance positions. But it's about making sure that you have enhanced decision making with objective oversight. We want to try and remove the guesswork out of this. It means, therefore, you have to start with an output. You've got to therefore base your decisions on facts. And it allows you then as well, if you have that enhanced decision making with that data-driven insight, that good report, the good analytics will actually improve resource management as well. It will provide cost reductions. It certainly has for many of our clients. They've been able to identify key high-risk areas. They've been able to therefore focus their decision making on those particular areas, whether it's areas such as insurance, whether it's areas such as contractors. You know, one of our particular clients found out that one particular contractor was bringing their compliance rates down incredibly badly. So they made a decision to move that particular contractor on and get to another contractor that was going to deliver on time and provide the level of protection that was actually needed. It's about making sure that those predictive analytics for risk forecasting are in place, that you've got things such as potential risks and you're aware of both current and historical data. I mentioned the essential equipment failure that one particular client was using. That meant that they were able to predict those particular issues and actually save costs at the end of the time. And finally, in respect of this, it's all about real-time monitoring for immediate effect. It's making sure that you're able to respond faster, quicker, with data-driven approaches, and then being able to identify the root causes. Now, just as I finish this particular part, I'm just going to run through these slides incredibly quickly, because these are just the typical type of key metrics that we've worked with our clients and they've looked at. It's things such as making sure that your inspection and maintenance compliance position is tracked. Basically looking at percentage of scheduled activities and the tasks that are carried out on a time-by-time basis. It's by looking at your regulatory compliance in measuring adherence to particular regulations, such as building codes, health and safety laws, environmental laws. It's about making sure, for example, that your assessment findings and remediation position is well known. Knowing exactly and monitoring your assessment findings and the percentage resolved is really, really important. It's about making sure that your own internal policies and procedures and compliance rates are tracked. It's about making sure that you are monitoring the frequency of, for example, compliance rated incidents and accidents. And there's a whole host of key metrics that you can look at. So in conclusion then, I would turn around and say compliance means different things to different people and different organizations. And that actually compliance overload in property management is the pressing issue I think we've all got to deal with. Whether it's the complexity and volume of regulations, whether it's the limitations that you have on resource, or whether it's you've got too much or too little technology, and being able to integrate that with your data management systems. The way that we have worked with our clients and the way that we have proven to be successful with our clients is to actually streamline those compliance tasks into one system. Look at your 360-degree visibility arrangements and look at your compliance visibility. It's so important. It's about making sure that the data that you have is real time. It's real-time digital tracking rather than yesterday's news. And finally, in respect of the strategies that we've worked with and have been proven to be successful, is make sure that you have the right reporting. Data-driven has to be the way forward. I would suggest you really need to start with the outcome and work backwards when it comes to what it is you need to deal with. So harnessing technology and technology platforms such as I said, CUDA, can support your compliance management, and it will deliver streamlined operations. It will provide you with a centralized document and management arrangements. And very importantly, we have seen, and our clients have seen, that it actually delivers foresight from insight. I'm conscious that I've said way too much. So I'm going to hand over now to Vanessa, and over to you, Vanessa.
Thank you very much, David. First slide, please. Hello, everyone. I am Vanessa Brandon, and I am the Head of Health and Safety at Rendell & Rittner. I started my career as a nurse back in Australia before moving to London to complete my master's degree in safety management. I started in the property field at Canary Wharf Management. I was then poached by Barclays to work within their business, focusing on the property compliance. And after 6 years there, I joined Rendell & Rittner as a department of one. My first day was a 3-day external audit, and I have to say it was the best introduction to a job ever, as it gave me oversight into the business and where I could make an impact and help enhance the processes for safety that were already in place. And over almost 11 years, I've worked with the business, and I now lead a department that is almost 30 strong. Rendell & Rittner have been in business for almost 35 years. It was started by Duncan Rendell and Matt Rittner to improve the service offering in the marketplace. And as a property management business, we are now managing over 80,000 homes. We have approximately 600 head office staff and around 1,500 on-site colleagues involved in the management of those buildings. And our management ranges from small singular blocks with as few as sort of 4 units to large complex schemes with over 5,000 units within the development. We work with all types of clients, from developers to resident-led management companies, and we consistently implement proven initiatives to enhance our customer experience, both from behind the scenes and our client-facing technologies. Matt and Duncan's initial drive to provide exceptional service has remained, and we now have a strapline within the business that is people-led, technology-enabled, and service-driven. So next slide, please. So when we started looking at systems, I didn't have oversight of compliance across the portfolio without a great deal of manual processing. In around 2018, I think it was, we partnered with ARC to provide us with the CUDA platform. The way our business is structured is by divisions. So each property will sit within a property division, and the division is then split out into various areas, and then each area will be split into multiple teams. Each team will then have numerous properties. So hopefully the graphic that David is showing you will help you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, the reason I mention this is because When we first looked at systems, we had to have one that would cater for all of those divisions, areas, teams, and individual buildings. So each person with access could only ever see what is relevant to them and have the appropriate access for that. And it was important as we had to ensure that each team leader and each area director, divisional director was being provided with reports on compliance for their relevant remits. Equally, we needed to be able to report via development to clients on individual buildings or their entire portfolio. Until we had the ability to run reports, we were not able to report on a range of different elements for blocks without creating and completing basically a spreadsheet. If a client or regulatory body wanted to know any information, for example, how many high risk actions were sort of raised within the business, we would have to manually pull that information together, which is really, really time consuming. And so when we were looking at the range of asset management systems, we needed to ensure that we could have overview of compliance and be able to drill down into sort of the red, so to speak. Essentially, easily identify what was causing a dip in our compliance. We looked at a range of systems and could not only provide what we needed for our structure to set up and the ability to integrate the system, it was also a user-friendly manner. For the end user, the system required fewer clicks, and so a lot of the other systems weren't as intuitive for that end user. And as we know, the easier it is for the end user, the more likely it is to be used. So when we started to implement CUDA, their customer success team did a lot of the heavy lifting, so to speak. And I won't lie, we had to gather a lot of information about the buildings, which we didn't hold centrally. We had, but we had to pull it together. And it was a little bit painful. However, once we gathered it and then put it into the system, we then had it centrally accessible for anyone and everyone that needed it. And so we created pages within the system that also allowed us to track specific information, such as which of our portfolio had swimming pools. As David sort of alluded to earlier, having an output idea, what you need that system to give you, is useful when you're looking at your systems, as it can eliminate those that can't cater for what the individual need of your business is, because we know we're all slightly different. Next slide, please, David. So from my perspective, what the benefits are, we have multiple benefits from using CUDA, and the most obvious is that it gives us oversight for what we need for governing compliance. We can report as a department on the performance of the business and where there are drops in performance, and therefore we can interrogate to understand what subject area is not compliant, and it then allows us to target training specific for that need. In addition, we can create bespoke details that are development specific. David did allude to that earlier, but practically we have a building that needs to maintain an aircraft warning light, and it's not something that's generally pretty common for buildings. However, the risk attached to not managing that is really significant, and so we do need to be able to evidence and make sure that that is being managed. Since implementation, we've also seen compliance improve across the business, and we report on this monthly to our teams on our all-staff broadcast. It demonstrates to the business the importance we place on compliance and ensuring that we maintain a strong safety culture within the business. As everyone knows, having documents is kind of the tip of the iceberg for compliance. Demonstrating that the risk highlighted by those documents is essential. So having a LOLA thorough examination report is great, but if you haven't actually actioned anything within the report, can you really say you're compliant? In my opinion, not really. So having the ability to demonstrate that those outputs are also being managed, not just those documents, even if it's not yet closed, being able to demonstrate it's being managed is essential. So individual performance is also beneficial. As I alluded to earlier, having oversight of performance of the building is really good, but actually being able to break down to an individual also allows us to identify who requires additional support. Is it the fact that they're not familiar with the system, or is it something a little more fundamental? So at Rendell and Rittner, we are really proud of our safety performance. We get audited by the British Safety Council against ISO, and in addition, their 5-star audit, and we maintain consistently above 97% compliance in that order. And we also enter the ROSPA Awards every year. And since entering the Competitive Sector Awards, we have received the Highly Commended Award twice and won the Competitive Sector Awards. So as part of these, we have to demonstrate that we are managing risk and demonstrating how our document and risk compliance works within the business and evidence that. And that definitely helps us with winning those awards. The adaptability of the system to the legislative changes has been seamless, I have to say. Anyone working within residential management will know the significant changes that we've recently been through with the Building Safety Act. Having a system that has held the golden thread and the safety case information by adapting what was already there was critical. It's reduced costs to leaseholders as they're not paying for yet another system to deliver the requirements of the legislation. It's also had the ability to pull the information already in the system, again, increasing the efficiency and reducing manual workloads. Reporting can now be done at a push of a button, which is great. We can report to the board quickly and easily as we can to our clients. So rather than having a manual task that would take several hours, it's increased the efficiency of our PM's time. It also means that more than one person has access to the compliance of the building and can provide information readily rather than having to search through folders and spreadsheets and all of that. And this enhances our customers' experience. We also provide access to our clients, and that ensures that we remain accountable. It also ensures that they do as well. Having access to risk information allows them to see what risks exist and the approvals they may need to give us to mitigate them. When we tender for new business or renew insurance policies, for example, again, we have to provide evidence of how risk is being mitigated. And this ensures that we are providing insurance to all the external parties, that the risk is being mitigated and we are managing well, and that can often help reduce premiums. And over and above that, we can also provide enforcement bodies assurance by having readily accessible documents for them. Now, CUDA is our single source of truth. We can easily identify buildings that are over 18 metres or have the property teams have access to things like the HRB numbers. And by not having to come to a central team, having that information at hand is really efficient for our property managers and, again, our customers. And finally, more of a personal point, as a safety professional, my duty, as I see it, is to the residents that we serve and making sure that I can sleep well at night, knowing that we are keeping them safe in their homes. So whilst having an efficient system that helps reduce manual workload is, really great, it would not serve me well if that didn't help me know that as a business, we are keeping people safe, because that's ultimately what my job is. So I would not have stayed with the business for 11 years that didn't align with my principles. And that will always be not only but I know my board's primary driver, keeping people safe. So that is why the business invests in these systems, ensuring that we do remain people-led, technology-enabled and service-driven. So hopefully that has provided you with some useful information, and I will now pass you back to Shauna.
Amazing. Thank you, Vanessa. And to kind of echo what you've just mentioned there, I think very much that ARC aligns with the same sort of values that Rendell and Rittner work to, which is about ensuring the safety of those living within the buildings. I know I'm conscious of time. We've got exactly just to 12 o'clock, but I think some of the takeaways from me there is the importance of reporting and the challenges that property managers face with the complexities of the various different documents and legislation that they have to work towards. And having that real-time tracking seems to be incredibly important, not only for maybe your insurance, but also reporting to now residents and the board as well. So really, really interesting. I'm going to go to just one question, and then what we can do is gather all of the others that have been submitted, because I'm conscious of time. So over kind of throughout the webinar, there seems to be a bit of a debate with regards to fire doors and the smoke test. So David, I'm going to come to you first, if that's okay. And then I'm going to actually come to Vanessa from a property side to see kind of how maybe R&R are dealing with it. So in regard to visibility, do you believe that the public at large are aware of the actual procedures of fire door smoke tests? Do the public know that the threshold gap is taped up and temporarily sealed? And this particular attendee has reservations regarding the hidden risks associated with that and blind spots. So David, to you first, and then to Vanessa. And what we'll do afterwards is gather the other Q&A and send out answers to those that have joined.
That's a very interesting question. I think it does depend. And it does depend because lots of different clients have different approaches to resident engagement. Resident engagement for some of our clients means just meeting the law. We are engaging with clients. We've got other clients, and I know Vanessa's one of them, that isn't just about engagement, it's about education as well. And that's a really important part. So no, I don't believe that residents are aware of how fire doors are tested, or even how fire doors are actually supposed to be used in some instances, or their importance. And by having a really good system that allows you to constantly educate residents and tenants. In commercial property, it's just as important. It's not just in the residential side as well. So I think that would be my answer to your question. No, I don't believe residents are aware. Some are trying to educate, and others are just seeing engagement is just about asking questions.
Vanessa?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. We have a varying type of resident, and some are quite frankly not interested, but others are very, very invested. And so I don't think they're necessarily aware of the complexities, but we have the ability for our residents to contact my department directly so that they can ask those questions, so that we're not just relying on the property managers to give them that information. But we also publish client fact sheets, and they're on our website. They're publicly available because we do like to educate, and we also do our own broadcasts to clients to try and educate them on that. But I think it is something that is growing, and I do think people are starting to pay more attention to these issues, and particularly fire doors.
Yeah, fire doors always is a topic. I even know when we do any webinars or CPD sessions for you guys, fire doors and fire door questions also always seems to be that topic that comes up. So thank you very much, and thank you very much to everybody who stayed behind. I know we're running over 4 minutes, but it's great to see such a turnout today. Vanessa, thank you very much for taking your time. I understand how busy you are over in R&R with support of your clients, so really, really appreciated. And David, as always, thank you for your presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.